let's get into the juicy stuff. NFL, we've been dying to talk about this.
I'm going to let you start because as soon as it happened, it didn't take long for you to text.
No,
so I'm going to let you take the wheel on this one.
I have a lot of issues right now. And honestly, it begins and ends with John Gruden. I can't begin to express how much of a failure of a coach this man is. He goes and robs the Oakland Raiders of $100 million guaranteed when he hasn't coached since, 03. Takes that money from Raiders. Oh, yeah, it's been at least that long.
I think he got released in 05.
Still, almost 10 years.
Yeah,
no,
I get it.
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years.
Almost 15 years. Anyway, he takes that money, says he's going to build a franchise, says he's got these big plans, this. He gets hired, and not even within 2 months does he get a hold of Mack and discuss anything. Khalil Mack, if people don't know, is arguably the first or second best defensive player in the league. That's arguable. I would say he's number one. Aaron Donald's great, but Khalil Mack does special things, and he changes the scheme of the entire game. He doesn't even talk to Mack for 2 months, then talks to him and says, talk to the GM about your contract. It's not my problem. Actually quoted saying that. It goes on. Then, a week before it starts, Mack hasn't showed up because he wants to negotiate. A day before what happens, Aaron Donald signs 140 mil or 139 mil or something.
Yeah.
An unbelievable contract, 87 mil guaranteed for the Rams. He gets paid. Bang. Best defensive player, second best defensive player gets his money. That team didn't want to lose him. The Rams were willing to pay up. Rams, mind you, are paying Namakatsu millions. Other defensive players, tens of millions. One of literally the most expensive line in football. They're paying them that. The Raiders, on the other hand, John Gruden, on the other hand, decide not to pay Khalil Mack, and they let him go for 2 first-round picks from Chicago. That's what they get. That's all they got is 2 first-round picks in the next couple of years, and then like a conditional 5th-round pick. Gruden should be fired and barred from Oakland and eventually Las Vegas. He should be ashamed of himself. Anyone who says this was a good decision is an idiot. They could have paid him the same amount the Bears paid him, and they still would have been just as fine. That defense would have been the same amount of nasty. But now you have Derek Carr, who's injury-prone, with a couple of decent receivers and an old running back, and that's going to be what you hang your hat on. Gruden just shot himself in the foot, and he doesn't care. He should be barred from Oakland and Las Vegas for what he did to that franchise. This is a once-in-a-lifetime player. To do that, this is like the Steelers saying, "Nah, we don't need Antonio Brown," or the Patriots saying, "No, in the prime of Gronk's career, we don't need Gronk." No, Detroit, we don't need Barry Sanders. We don't need Stafford. Any of it. We don't saying we don't need Breeze. That's the equivalent. But because he's a defensive player, it doesn't look that way. Gruden's a piece of shit. I have no respect for that man. I hope they go 0-16 because he in that franchise were dumb enough to let that man walk. I hope the Bears play Oakland. I'm not sure if they do. I hope they do, and I hope he murders Carr.
Pretty sure they do.
Because Gruden did this. This is Gruden's fault. And he had a press conference, and all he did was say, "No, I had nothing to do with it. There's nothing I could do. He wasn't going to show up. He wasn't going to do this. He wasn't going to do that. It was the best decision, but it wasn't my decision." Fuck that. You would have paid the man, he would have showed up, and he would have produced. It's a joke. Pay the man. It's $1 billion industry. Do you know how much they made from the Las Vegas deal? Billions. You could have paid Mack. You could have paid Mack, and now you're not going to have a solid defense, and you're never going to find another Mack. They don't just grow on trees. They're once in a lifetime. They're like the Watts. They're like Aaron Donalds. They're like when Namakatsu started with the Lions. They're that fucking good. If you're a Raiders fan, you shouldn't support Gruden. You should be calling for his head on a pike. I don't care what his legacy is. You don't do that. That'd be like if the Detroit Lions cut Stafford or traded him instead of paying them a couple of years ago. You're idiots. But I bet you this, if Khalil Mack played QB, they would have paid him.